Good morning, everybody. I'm Deborah Byrne from DBpsychology Services, known across the web as DBpsychology. This morning I'm going to talk about parenting and finding time for you as a parent, hopefully during the week and or at least at the weekends. It depends on your own schedule and what you want to, how much time you want to take for yourself. We do know from research that parents need about 20 minutes decompression time every day. That can feel like a lot of time for some parents to try and take, but it is essential for your own mental health and self-care. And I would recommend that. So if you do have a partner, maybe that you do take time out, even take time to do things to get the kids to bed a little bit earlier so that you can have time for yourself or time for each other during the week. At the weekends, then they recommend that you take a longer period of time for yourself. So that may be, things like, going out shopping just with you on your own. But I will go into that now during the course of the video. The first place I would start would be to review your priorities. Now, I call this also your not to-do list. So I would do a brain dump, and I would write down everything that I have a commitment for. And I mean every little detail that you do every day and every week for yourself, for the children, and for everybody else in your life. You may be part of the sandwich generation where you're also looking after elderly parents. If not full time, then maybe you have to check in on them more regularly, and you still have children at home. I have created a good morning, Jennifer. Lovely to see you watching. I have created a review my priorities list, and it's pinned to the top of this page. Now you do have to join my newsletter to get it. But people who join the newsletter get discounts on my courses, and they get special offers and things like that. So that may be a bonus to you. If not, just simply write down everything you have to do, and on that list, then review the list and decide what you want to do. And if you don't want to do something anymore, or you feel that it's not your responsibility, and this can be in work too, then why are you propping that person up? Put them on the not, that's somebody else's responsibility. Place it onto a second list and say, okay, this is not my responsibility, and hand it back to that person and allow them the dignity of being a grown-up. And I would scan the list a second time and see if there is anything on that list that is just simply out of your control. So scan down the list, and if there's something that is just simply out of your control, you're going to have to decide to let it go. And I would place that onto another list. So what you'll be left with is a new to-do list. And you may find then that has freed up some time just for you, just by doing that simple exercise. In the review my priorities list, I have created 2 other worksheets. So it's not just that sheet, there's 2 other sheets. So go and check them out and see what you think. I'd love to hear what you think. And if you want to leave any comments, or if you have any questions, don't forget, leave them in the box below, and after this video, and I will be happy to go in later on today and answer them for you. So the blog this week talks about finding time for yourself. So I'm just going to be checking on my list that I have written for people. I can't keep it all in my memory, unfortunately. I'd love to be able to have that kind of memory. So if you are a stay-at-home parent, or if you're working during the week and you have smaller children and you're home at the weekends, they go down for a nap. More likely they'll go down for a nap. So try and take that time not to clean the house, not to do the laundry, not to prep meals or anything else, but just take that time for yourself. It's as I said at the start, we know parents need some time for themselves, at least 20 minutes a day. So that's the first place you might want to think about taking time. The second place is to get up earlier. Now, this can be hard if your kids are young and you haven't had a full night's sleep. This can be ridiculous, and you're not going to be able to. You're going to be trying to get as much sleep. I know that feeling. I raised 5 kids, and trying to get as much sleep as possible because you've been woken up in the middle of the night until that alarm bell goes off and you have to get up for work, or you have to get up to get them to school, or whatever it is you have to do that day. So maybe that's not going to work for you. So the staying up later may be the time that you'll get time for yourself and time as a couple. But if you can, as they get a bit older and they're, they can get themselves dressed and ready for school, and if you have done some preparation the night before, it does free up some time in the morning for you to have that, that cup of coffee or a cup of tea, or just sit and meditate for a few minutes before they come pounding down the stairs and it's breakfast and everybody's rushing and grabbing bags and everybody's rushing out the door. So just think about getting up as they get a bit older. Maybe think about getting up a few minutes earlier than the kids and getting yourself ready to go downstairs, and then just giving them a shout. And while they're getting ready, take time to decompress or meditate before you start your day. Have a good meal planning system in place. Now, people might be surprised at that, but if you are out working and you're very busy, sometimes either what my mother used to do actually was to cook the meal the night before, and then she would only have to heat up. And that was in a time when there was no microwaves. That was crazy. But she would have meals that were easily reheatable. We were lucky we had, as my children got a bit older, we had microwaves. So it's very handy then to just heat up a meal. But if you can batch cook at the weekend, and I don't mean just you as a mum or you as a dad, I mean if you have a partner, then you split all duties at the weekend, particularly if you're both working, between yourselves, so that you have time during the week then that the meals are even nearly finished, or you can take something out and defrost it. It makes for a much more relaxed evening for everybody involved, including the kids, and you can spend some time with them before they go to bed, make sure homework is done, and all the things that we have to do as a parent, and have time. And that's why a meal prepping system or something that will work for your family is essential for freeing up your time. If you're out shopping, you can do one of two things. You can do what I did, and that was I never brought them shopping. And I'll be honest, no, they weren't coming shopping, even for the groceries. They weren't coming shopping with me. It was crazy. 5 children, they were all very small, and they would run around the supermarket all in 5 different directions. I would always make sure when it came to going for clothes shopping and shoe shopping for them that I had help, because they would go in 5 different directions. They were a little bit hyper, and so I'd leave them at home. I would actually leave them at home and take up the help of family members, or it's only once a week. Hi Deirdre, good morning. It's only once a week, and I would basically leave them at home if you can with your partner and go and do your grocery shopping. Now, if they're calmer children, then, not like mine, totally hyper, give them the list and help them write the list and get them involved in grocery shopping. But if this is for other items like furniture or clothes or whatever, it's good to actually have somebody else to look after them. Now, if you're not in that position, I don't know of many stores anymore. There used to be stores when my kids were younger that would have, particularly grocery stores, that had a play group, and I would use that play group. If you had, I know IKEA, I don't like mentioning products or brands, sorry, but they do have a play group in store, and I would use that. I would use that so that you can have some, it's mental health really. It's downtime for your mentality so that you can actually concentrate on what you're there for and not be constantly worried about where they are. Don't feel guilty about corralling them in trolleys. I know toddlers, they'll want to run around the store and they don't want to sit in the trolley anymore, but use distractions. So get them to hold a list, and they can do ticks, or they can have their own list and they can tick it off, and get them involved in that. So if that works for you, that's fine. But if possible, leave them at home. Do yourself a favour and leave them at home. Or use the store, the playgroup store. Now, other ways that you can find time for your mental health when you have kids is to join playgroups and have mother and toddler. I'm talking about the mother and toddler groups, and dads and toddlers too. It's not just for mums. There are swimming groups, I believe, for for toddlers as well, that parents can go along to. And the local libraries now in Ireland a lot of them are running, and if they don't, I'm sure they'd be open to it because other libraries do it, are running a kind of reading group for toddlers, and babies as well. I'm not just talking about babies. So that's a time when you actually get to meet other adults, and you're not just looking at, as I did back in the day, was Barney was the big thing. So, and Fireman Sam, I think I know all the songs still at this stage. So you get constantly left watching all these kiddie programs, and you are talking to a baby or a toddler. You need time with other adults and interacting, and to hear what other parents are going through, so that you don't feel left out. You don't feel like you're the only one. And it's important for us as adults to interact with other adults. So I would encourage you to join parent and toddler groups or baby groups. Usually they include babies as well in that. And, use the local library if they have something going on for children. They have story times, I think on Saturdays sometimes. So use that, and you use that time while the kids are corralled on the floor listening to the other adult. They're not going out the door. You can keep an eye on the doors, and you can, pick out a book for yourself, or just sit and watch the kids. And while you're sitting at the back, usually you sit at the back of the group and the kids are all in the front, that you would, have a time to have a chat quietly with the parents on either side of you, and have that grown-up time for you. Take the time to also, while they're in school, if you're a stay-at-home parent, take the time while they're in play group or in school for yourself. Take at least some part that day, either the 20 minutes or an hour, for yourself to either do a hobby or have an interest, or get out walking, or do some meditation, or just sit down, relax, have a cup of tea or coffee and read a book, or do whatever it is. Have your television show recorded from the night before, and just sit down and watch it. And don't feel guilty about this. You need that decompression time. As I said at the start, you need at least 20 minutes a day to decompress. And whether that is, it's okay to go and have a bath at 11 o'clock in the morning, because, that's how you'll relax and decompress. Go and do it. Don't feel guilty about any of this. Never, ever, ever feel guilty about taking time for yourself as a parent. It is essential that you do so. Learning to multitask. And what I mean by this is, if you put the baby or the toddler in the pram and you take them out for a walk, put on one headphone, like I have here now, and listen to an audio tape or listen to some music, and you can still hear the child if they get upset or if there's something going on. You're still aware of your surroundings, but you take that time for you. It's just another way of as we as parents probably know, multitasking. We do a lot of multitasking as parents. So this is a me time multitasking. So try that out and see what you think. It's always a good way of doing it. I would also say maybe create, and this goes back to reviewing my priorities list that I said at the start, was to keep a me time list. Now, included on those sheets, I have putting together a self-care kit. And in the self-care kit, I would say to you, put together your favourite DVDs or your box set, or you have your shows that you like to watch, a scented candle, a blanket, bar of chocolate, whatever it is that you really like, that's something special, treats that So if you're having a down day, and every parent goes through ups and downs, every parent. So just remember that it's ups and downs every day. It's not going to be perfect. You put your hand on your heart and say, I did the best I could today. That's all you have to do. And just remember, concentrate on today. Forget about tomorrow. It hasn't happened yet. And let go of the past. Okay, today is a new day, and we begin, and we do the best we can in life. Your kids are going to be fine. It'll work out in the end. Believe me, I've had ups and downs. It'll work out in the end. I promise you. They grow up fine. All mine are fine. They're doing well. So going back to the me time list, if you have something that you can list out, even if you're very organized, you could do it in increments of 10 minutes or 15 minutes or a 20-minute thing, and you could list them out all under that 15, 5, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and say, this is what I can do. And basically it's like creating a to-do list, but it's a to-do list for you, so that you can have some time for yourself. So if you're reading a book, maybe you're going to say, okay, I have 20 minutes. I'm going to grab my book and I'm going to read for 20 minutes, and I'll have a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, and I'll just sit down and read. Now, I'm saying reading because I do a lot of reading. I love to read. That's my decompression. I love to read every evening. And but you have other interests. It could be listening to some music. It could be, I don't know, watching your favorite television program, especially if you have it recorded. You can cut out all the ads. You can fast forward now through all the ads, and you don't have to watch them. So, most shows that are even an hour long can be compressed down to about 45 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes, taking out all the ads. So think about it. Think about what you want to put on that me time list. And if you have it already noted down and in the front of your planner or your journal, you have a list already there for you to start from. It's somewhere to start. If you don't know where to start, have a think about it. Now, I've created a series of blog called SelfSoothing, and I think people are kind of going, what's self-soothing? Well, they're just good habits. So if you're looking for somewhere to start, and I've created 6 of them, so they take into account all the 5 senses. So if you're looking for somewhere, just go and check out my blog and put in the word self-soothing in the search box, and you will come up with some ideas to get you started, incorporating all 5 senses, plus one that incorporates most senses, or it just isn't one sense. Use a babysitter and family on a regular basis. So if you get the offer from any family member to mind the kids, please take it. It is so important, as I said, to get time to yourself. So don't feel guilty about handing the kids over to mom or the mother-in-law or the sister or the, aunts, uncles. Everybody can help. And take that time for yourself or as a couple. And take it frequently. Take it frequently during the week or during the month. Take that offer up. Hire a babysitter. Yes, it can be expensive, but even once a month. Or use each other. It's once a month, it's my night out, or it's your night out, or, you join a night class, and every Monday for the next 8 weeks, it's going to be me time. And night classes aren't about what you're learning, the skills. Sometimes they are. It's more about the adult interaction and, talking to people, as they say. And if you feel guilty about that, there are plenty of night courses out there related to people's jobs. So if you said, look, I'm going to do this for my job. So if that's your way of getting out the door and saying and getting over your guilt, then do take that time. But it'll be your turn on a Monday night, say, and then he goes or she goes to the Wednesday night class, and you each have a night out. You each have a couple of hours to yourselves during the week, and you're decompressing and you're getting adult time. And that's okay. And the same with using babysitters, hiring a babysitter, even if it's only once a month, even if it's only once every 2 months, use it and pay for that babysitter and take that time, even if you're going to stay at home. Hire the babysitter to mind the kids downstairs, go upstairs, and this is coming into my another point I'm going to make, which is learn to lock the door. And go upstairs and lock the door and put your feet up and watch a movie or read your book. or have a bath. And if that works for you, then I would take it. If that, if that meant that was what you needed to do to take time out. So that brings me on to the next point, which is learn to lock the door. So going off and taking a bath, learn to lock the door. Because if you're with your kids all day, if you're the primary caregiver, you will know that once they get to walking stage, you can't even go to the bathroom without them. They will follow you around. They will burst through the door. You won't get a minute's privacy. So they will be banging on the door. Mommy, 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 daddy, 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 whoever it is, they will be at the door. Learn to lock the door. Learn to lock the door in the bathroom. Take 5 minutes, take 10 minutes, take 15 minutes, take a bath. I'm not saying leave the kids unsupervised. This is when the babysitter or your family member or your partner is there and they are minding the child. But if the child, explain to the child, mum or dad is now going to have some time to themselves. You're going to stay and play with the other partner or the family member or the babysitter, whoever is going to look after you now, and I'll be back in 20 minutes. I'm only going, they don't really understand time, but I'll be back in a short while. I'm only going upstairs, or I'm only going down to my bedroom, and I'm going to what I'm going to do. And whatever it is, just explain to them in their terms, get down to their level, just explain to them very calmly, this is what we're going to do. And in time, they will get used to the idea that you need to time out. And it will become natural to them that that's mum or dad's time off. And it is so important that they get used to that idea. It's okay, because you're teaching them, these are life skills that you're teaching them. It's okay to take time for yourself. That's what you're teaching your kids. It's okay to take time for me, which is a hugely important skill to learn, that it's okay to have self-care. And this is all part of self-care, is to have time for yourself and time with other adults. And this is something that they will bring on into their later life and they can use. So you're teaching them good mental health skills by doing this. I think I've covered nearly everything. I'm just going to go down and see. Okay, yeah. Now, if you're at work, there was a couple of more things I wanted to do. If you're at work, then I would suggest that you use your lunch hour to do some meditation, to interact with, take the break, take the hour, half an hour, whatever you get, take your 15-minute break in the morning, take all the breaks. I don't care how busy you are. Okay, if you're that busy, then go back to review your priorities list and say, am I taking on other people's responsibilities? If you are, hand them back. There's no point in you covering for people. It's not fair. It's totally not fair when you're working. They are hired for that job and they should be doing that job. You are not there to do your job and their job. So let them fall. Let them fall. And you need to take your time out during lunchtime if you want to take up, if you can squeeze in an exercise class, even just going for a 20-minute walk, particularly during the winter. When the light is so bad, getting out between 12 and 3 or 12 and 2 even would be great, even for 20 minutes. You're going to improve your vitamin D, you're going to improve your mental health, and it reduces the SAD. So take that time. As I said, go to a cafe, get a cup of coffee, read your book, do whatever you're doing, listen to some music, get out of the office, get away from your desk. Even if you're working at home, hello Anita, if you are working from home, take that time out. I'm a devil for not doing it, and this year I have made a resolution that I'm going to be taking my lunchtime and that's it. I'm going to stop work at lunchtime and step away from whatever I'm doing, and I'm going to take that time out for me. You need to do this. You need to decompress. If you are saying, oh, I can't. In fact, you're doing it wrong. If you are a workaholic, then you're no good to anybody. You're no good to yourself and you're no good to anybody else. You're not really providing the best service you can to your workplace or to your business if you're a business owner. You need creativity. You need time off to be more productive. We know that. We know that from studies, that it is so important to take time off. So if that means, taking your lunch time without any guilt, this is your excuse. it'll make me more productive. Okay? So take time out at lunchtime and do whatever you want to do. And I don't mean go grocery shopping, okay? Or run and do a load of errands to do at the house. No, this is about you. You need to take that time out for you. Now, you need to, if you're in a relationship, of course, as parents, we need to invest time with our other half. And I think I have blogs on that already. I'd have to go and look them up myself at this point. But taking time out as a couple, hopefully once a week, but even once a month, you need to invest in the relationship. Because at the end of the day, the kids grow up, and they grow up, let me tell you, they grow up very, very, very quickly. It only seems like yesterday I was listening to Barney and, Fireman Sam and all those other programs, and now they're all gone and they're all off doing their own thing. And, so you need to, at the end of the day, it's going to be back to just the two of you as a couple. And in order for that relationship to be healthy and survive, you need to invest in you. So I would recommend that you do take time out just as a couple. And that, again, is showing your kids what good, it's a good parenting advice and good parenting skills to show your children what to do. Remember, they're going to model what you teach them to their children. And so your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and all, it'll all be modeled down the years to our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren will be doing exactly what you've been doing. So taking time out is a good skill to show your children that it's okay to do this, and it's very important to do this as a couple. The other thing that's very important as a couple, if you want to get time for yourself, is to divide up the chores. Now, you're going to have to make that decision yourselves as to what proportion of the chores. If you're both out working, it should really be 50-50. I know in reality that doesn't work. But maybe you need to sit down with your partner and say, I need more help. I can't work full time. I can't run my own business full time if I have to also do things full time with the children and with the household and everything else. So only you as a couple can decide that. But really, if you want to find more time for yourselves as a couple and as an individual, I would recommend that you, hi Joe, that you take time for to divide up the chores. And when I say, the whatever it is that needs to be done, the grocery shopping, the cleaning the house, prepping for the week. If you're out at work all the time, then you need to be prepping ahead at the weekends. You tend to prep ahead for the week. You know yourself what the list is. You know what you have to do. So having that conversation with your partner and saying, look, I really could do with more help. I know it's a hard one for some people, but it's important that you have that conversation. Perhaps it's something I would advise people that are getting married or are going into a long-term relationship and considering having children. This would be something I would advise them to do along with finances, is to discuss, what you're going to do when the parents, when the parents come along, when you have to look after your parents, but also when you have to look after children, what you have to do to help each other in dividing up those chores and who's going to be responsible for what or whatever it is. Sit down and have that conversation after you've done your own priorities list. In fact, if you both sat down and did your own priorities list, your own to-do list, and then came together as a couple, it might be a way of starting the conversation and getting some more help that you need. And in saying that, just on a final note, I would say to you is use something like Google Calendar and make sure that all the family members can see it, particularly as the children get older. You can, something like Google Calendars or having a paper calendar with everybody's name. You can get them in places like Tesco, where everybody's name is across the top and what people have to do. So everybody knows what everybody's doing on what day of the week. and scheduling it out. What I would used to do was I did it twice a year. I'd have my calendar every Christmas, and I would take the school calendar as we all get in September, and I would, fill in all the holidays and all the activities that had to be done, and I'd pre-fill those all out so that everybody knew where everybody was. And you can now do it online with Google Calendar. You can do exactly the same thing, and you can add in, one partner can add in, well, I'm going to be running late for a meeting. I'm going to be, I work late on a Tuesday, or I have this presentation to do on Wednesday. I'm attending this seminar this weekend in the year, whatever. You can plan it all out, and everybody has access to it, particularly as they become teens. They get more active, maybe a bit more independent. They're attending their own things, and everybody knows where everybody else is. So it just brings it all together, the whole family together as a unit, and says, right, Mary is doing this week, and John is doing that on the same night. Okay, so you need to be there and I need to be here. You can divide it up yourselves. You know what you basically, it's common sense, really. So I'm going to wrap it up here, and I would like to just take this time to thank everybody who came on live with me this morning. And I would also just like to say that my course is starting next Monday, and it's about self-care and learning to take time for yourself. So if you want to learn mindfulness, if you want to take time for yourself and maybe start off taking time for yourself, maybe it's a good time for you to come on this course. The details are on this page, on the Facebook page. They're also on my website. If you go to www.deborahbyrnepsychologyservices.com, you'll see the details on my shop there. So I'd like to wish you a lovely day. I hope you're having a great week, and I'll talk to you again next Wednesday morning at the same time. Thank you.